Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Stadium Showdown, your in-depth look at the future home of the Cleveland Browns. I'm Jeff Slauson. This week, we are going to start with an update from the Cleveland Browns and from the COO of Haslams Sports Group, Dave Jenkins. Now, he spoke on the Building Brownstone podcast earlier on this week. The updates that he gave here are pretty interesting as far as what the Browns have done for the stadium, what they continue to do for the stadium, but also touching on the ever-important issue of funding. Addresses that pretty flat out here. Now, we know where the funding is coming from the state, potentially from Brook Park. They've said they put up $300 million. We know how much the Haslams would put up. The county is still up in the air. And according to Dave Jenkins, he believes that there is a chance for the county and for the Browns to come to some sort of an agreement. Let's listen now.
The three most important things really from a building perspective are on time, on budget, and on design intent. So that's what's been our focus. And then there's this whole other piece of the economic equation. So how do you get the state on board with linchpin funding? What's happening locally? People ask, what can a small municipality like Brook Park do? How could they even enable something like this? So working through all those pieces and being at the table as a thought partner with these other stakeholders has really given this the best chance at success.
I'm going to go back to your first answer. You talked about that this is a private-public partnership. And in terms of private investment, it is massive. There are so many misconceptions out there about how this is actually going to be paid. Can you clear the air on how this is actually going to be funded?
I'll try, because like you said, there's a lot of misconceptions, misperceptions, mistruths. Look, just to take a step back, this is a $3 to $3.5 billion project. The scale and the speed at which it's all going to come together. So by 2029, we're going to have a stadium open, along with phase one of the mixed-use development. It's going to be it's a $3 billion project. So, look, public-private partnership is the key. The scale of this thing is so massive, it's hard for one party to take it on themselves. So the linchpin funding, we've been calling it, is this $600 million performance grant that the state budget on June 30th included. $2.4 billion stadium. Half of that we're proposing comes from us plus the overrun, so $1.2 billion of private funding. The other half we've asked all along has been $600 million from the state, which was granted on June 30th within the state's budget. They're calling that a performance grant. The key to that $600 million is we're going to generate over $3 billion of tax revenues over the 30-year life of the lease to pay back that $600 million. So substantial return for the state on their investment. The other $600 million locally right now is roughly $300 million from Brook Park, and that's really...
I love kindergarten at Stockya.
All right, well, we were hoping that wasn't going to play out there, but that is what it is. All right, so basically what they were getting at here is that as far as what we were seeing with the payment and everything, there is still an opportunity for the county to step in here and offer some sort of payment as well. Now, what does this look like from the Haslam perspective? Talking legitimately, Dee and Jimmy Haslam. 19's Dan DeRose has the latest from their discussions out of Browns training camp.
This week, we got to hear from Dee and Jimmy Haslam, the owners of the Cleveland Browns, and it was interesting to hear how confident they are that Brook Park will happen. You'll hear more from Jimmy in a second. They did so much as even updating where they think they are in the progress. They say they would still like to sit down and negotiate with the county and the city. We're talking about Chris Ronayne, the executive, and Mayor Justin Bibb with Cleveland, but they say they have not been to any kind of negotiating table in quite some time since talks broke down. They say they're going to start moving dirt later this year in the next couple of months, that there'll be dirt moving around out there at the site in Brook Park, then a groundbreaking in February of 2026, because ultimately this stadium has to be done ready to take the Browns in their 2029 season.
A lot of progress has been made. I mean, we started out thinking, what can we do for the fans in this community, and what can we do for Northeast Ohio and for Cleveland? And I think the Dome Stadium is a transformational project that will deliver a world-class experience for our fans and also spur economic growth and conversation on what a great place this is to live.
Now is the time to work together. Maybe it doesn't work out with the county, but now's the time to sit down and see if we can't work together. This is an important project I don't think many other entities are spending $2 billion plus in this community.
And we are located in the county, so we will be working with the county.
How confident are you that you'll be able to make the Brook Park project happen at this point?
Like 99.9.
No, we're very confident and very excited about
I
it.
mean, we can't be more confident. And let me say, these projects are really hard, okay? And the state's a hurdle. You know, there's other hurdles. You got to work with DOT and rapid transit. You got to get your financing. You got to control costs. These are big, complicated projects. This is either the second or largest project in the state of Ohio history. So this is a complicated project. There's stuff going on. It's 3.5 years till the stadium opens, and we will have to work hard every day to get everything to come together.
More on that battle and sitting down to negotiate with the county. Let's walk through the numbers. Jimmy and Dee Haslams say that, hey, nobody else is coming into Northeast Ohio and pledging to put in a $2 billion of their own money in any project. It would be the second largest private investment project in the state's history. Next up, the state. We know that the Republicans pushed through that deal to get $600 million in unclaimed funds. Jimmy Haslams said that they've worked with Brook Park and some other private partners. Brook Park is going to put in their share at $300 million. Now they want to sit down with Chris Ronayne and say, look, this project is going into your county. We would like to negotiate for $300 million, but then the Haslams said in the next breath, we don't need the county and their $300 million, but it would be nice to have them at the table. Dan DeRose, 19 News.
All of the ideas behind the stadium, very much so exciting for the Browns. But the thing is, none of it can move forward until we get some clarity onto exactly what's going on with the lawsuits. Coming up after the break, we bring in our legal analyst, Alyssa Belli, to discuss exactly where we are in all of these lawsuits and exactly where we will be come the fall. That next. Welcome back. So you heard how confident the Haslams are about a stadium being built. They said 99.9% confident. So what is the 0.1% that maybe they're a little concerned about? That potentially is happening in the courts because, well, yes, the Haslams believe that they are full steam ahead on this. The courts may say otherwise. So, of course, we're going to be bringing in our legal analyst, Alyssa Belli. Alyssa, it's kind of funny. You and I talked about this just before we started recording here. Their confidence almost feels like they're completely ignoring what's happening legally because a lot still needs to happen before they can be certified to actually build this thing, right?
That's absolutely right. There's not just one case, there's not two, there's actually 3 pending lawsuits right now regarding the stadium and how it's going to be paid for.
Yeah, so as of right now, it's far from a certainty at least. It's not 99.9, it's potentially a little bit less.
Absolutely.
So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go through the court cases kind of one by one where we are at this point because we have gotten some updates on them. Let's start, and as Alyssa mentioned, there's multiple here. So let's start with the federal court case. That actually was somewhat addressed in court this week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yesterday all the parties were in federal court before the judge, and here's what we know. They were with the judge for about an hour, and you might recall that the city tried to throw out the Browns lawsuit actually multiple times. The judge said, we're denying all those requests. We're almost starting back at the beginning.
What does that mean, starting back at the beginning? Because we've covered a lot of updates here. Does that mean literally going back to the discovery phase, or just the beginning of where they were before this announcement?
Yeah, so this lawsuit was filed in October, right? And now the parties can go back. They got to answer the complaint. They have to engage in discovery. Now they have to refile motions to dismiss or re-ask the court to consider even allowing the updated lawsuit. We're really back at square one.
It's crazy to kind of be back at that point because, again, as we have said, and as you heard, there is so much confidence from one side that everything's going forward when now we're going backwards legally. So that obviously is incredibly interesting. And really quickly, that federal case, for those that are unfamiliar, just a really quick overview of exactly which one that is.
Yeah, that's the case where the Browns said that the Modell law is unconstitutional. And it was filed before the Modell law was updated, which now, as you know, no longer restrains a team from moving within city to city. But also what's interesting is that we still don't even have the dates because both sides of the parties in the federal lawsuit will be speaking again with the judge next week.
It's crazy, yeah. And that Modell law change, again, you know, this is another thing that you and I have kind of talked about here, but it's going to be up to the decision of, does this need to go by what the Modell law was or what it is? Obviously, that's very complicated. All right, let's move to the county case here. Any updates in that one?
Sure. So last we spoke, we were in court watching the sides argue about the Browns' attempt to throw out the city's lawsuit. The judge denied that request and said, no, I see issues here. There's breach of the lease with the team, and this case is going to go on. So fast forward, the city now has filed a partial summary judgment motion. And all that means is, Judge, we don't need a trial on the issue of the breach of the lease. There's enough here. There's no dispute over the facts. Please grant this. And if she does grant this, that's major because that's definitely going to delay the timeline here.
So we have the county case, we have the state case, both of which, at least from someone in my position, shows that the Browns aren't necessarily in great shape and that the city and those that don't want them to move potentially have a point. Is that how we should be taking this?
There's a real concern here with the county's case, because if the judge finds that there is a breach of the lease, that most likely means that the Browns have to stop what they're doing until 2028. And that, of course, is going to be a major issue because they just got done saying that they want to start moving dirt around by the end of the year.
So there's a chance that we have multiple years of this being held.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's not necessarily, oh, we're going to absolutely be playing by 2029.
No, there's so much uncertainty here. So much uncertainty.
It's incredible. I mean, it really is. And it's not like we're any closer to a decision on all of those. I mean, when can we expect to somewhat get an idea of the results of potentially results of some of these?
So in the county case, like I said, the city filed that motion. The Browns will have an opportunity to oppose it, and then the city can come back and file one more motion. Then the judge rules. Now, in the federal case, like we said, we're still waiting on dates. We don't know when motions are going to be due. We don't have a trial date. A lot of unknowns.
All right, Alyssa, the last thing we want to just touch on really quickly here. This is not in relation to the lawsuits that we've covered previously, but this is the Franklin County one. For those that are unfamiliar or at least very slightly familiar, this is in relation to how the Browns would get paid, basically, for the stadium. What do we know? What's been updated, or where are we at least in that one as far as can the unclaimed funds actually be used for the Browns Stadium?
So also in the month of July, former Ohio Attorney General Mark Dan filed a lawsuit in Franklin County. That's Columbus. And what he's doing, he's challenging the constitutionality of the use of these unclaimed funds to pay for the stadium. And that lawsuit, because it's just been filed, we don't even have dates set in that case yet, and the parties haven't been before the judge.
Is there a potential that as that lawsuit goes on, the unclaimed funds could kind of be in limbo as far as being used or not being used?
Oh, absolutely. Part of this is that they're asking for an injunction. They're asking the judge to say, this is unlawful and you need to put pause on this, and they need to find another way to come up with this money.
So there's a chance that the federal suit is somewhat figured out. The county suit is somewhat figured out. The Franklin County one has not been decided yet. And so that portion of the funds is held somewhere. The Browns potentially could use theirs, but there's still a lot more to be unaccounted for, right?
That's absolutely the case. Let's say that the lawsuits here resolve and they're not in violation of the Modell law. Let's say they're not even in violation of the lease and they're permitted to go forward. And then a judge in Franklin County says, actually, no, this is an unconstitutional taking of public money.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So just speaking generally, if you were the Haslams, would you say you have a 99.9% confidence just based off of all the lawsuits right now? I mean,
no, that's a little too confident,
Right, because there's so much still that's yet to be known.
Absolutely.
Alyssa, anything else? Anything from my, you covered all things from my notes. Anything else we didn't get to?
No, I think it's just really fascinating that the legal battle is actually heightening despite the fact that the Haslams feel that they're ready and clear to move forward.
Unbelievable situation. Alyssa Belli, we are always so thankful for your time. Thank you so much. Welcome back. Brook Park Council having special meetings over the summer to expedite the process to make sure that the Browns can stick to their timetable so first games can start to be played in 2029. So what does that mean for the actual infrastructure of the site itself? This area here, this basically is the entire site for that Browns new stadium. Remember, this right here is Hopkins Airport. Restrictions exist with the FAA, so that needs to be taken into account. In addition to that, not including the airport, obviously it's a massive part of it, but the actual infrastructure, not just of the site itself, but around it, is going to have to be changed. Now, Snow Road right here deals with a fair amount of traffic, but not nearly as much as what it would take to make sure that fans could go in and out and not really bother anybody else. Also take into account that you have Angle here, then you've got Brook Park Road on this side there. The idea behind the whole project is to make sure that it can be used all year round, which seems easy enough, right? Well, not really, because here's the factor that we are going to address very shortly in the meeting that was happening last week. Let's say that the stadium is right here, okay? Let's say that they have all the people that are living there in this portion of it. You don't want the two to really be mixed as much. You want the people that are living here to still be able to live there regardless of what type of an event is taking place. And that is exactly what Brook Park Council addressed last week. Haslam Sports Group doing a full presentation to discuss exactly what they need done, the new zoning that they want changed, and Brook Park's taking their time with it because they know whatever the decision makes now, that's going to be affecting 10, 20, 30 years down the road, and they want to make sure that every decision is correct.
The concern is, so, you know, we're going to be bonding $300 million, give or take, whatever it turns out to be. We have to, just to pay the principal back in 20 years, have to make about $86,000 a year on each acre of land.
If I can on that rebuttal, we're not done with negotiations.
Well,
and we have what will be.
Well, my point is, though, is that
pledged and unpledged.
I want to ensure that we're using every acre of that property to the best of our ability. So I think that, like, you know, omitting some of the things in our zoning ordinances that are allowed in other U1 districts, and there's a list. I have a list here prepared from every zone. You know, like, for example, in a U3, no greenhouses or nurseries. I don't think that's gonna, if we put that in there under the prohibited uses, although it's allowed in a U3, that's gonna ensure that that can never go there because it's in the prohibited uses. And then we're gonna ensure that only the ones in U3 that are gonna have the most dense ability to return of investment for Brook Park goes in there. Does that make sense?
It does, but the one thing I want to clarify for everybody at home, we're not completely finished with all the negotiations. And I'll just use this as there will be, out of the 176 acres, there will be an area for where our pledged dollars and revenue will come from versus unpledged. And I'm going to be very careful with this. Today, what we're trying to do is just initiate through council the process of rezoning.
Discussions between Brook Park City Council, the Haslams, and Mayor Orcutt, making sure that every change to the plot that will be the new Brown Stadium is a change done with the future in mind, not just thinking about the Browns. During last week's special meeting, Haslam Sports Group officially presented to council, explaining why they need the site to be rezoned to fit multiple different types of businesses, not just a sporting event.
And then in the future programming phases there, we have a phase 2 and a phase 3, which will really be dictated by market demand as well as what the development is geared towards. So you see we have office up there that is added in, as well as additional inline retail, and then also additional residential to get up to about 1,100 residential units as well.
If you want to watch any of our previous coverage of the Stadium Showdown, go ahead, scan the QR code on your screen right now. That provides every opportunity for you to watch every single episode, again, of the Stadium Showdown. And of course, if you want to ask us a question, go ahead, scan this QR code on your screen right now. That's the best way to get a hold of us. Had some pretty good interactions with a lot of people at home. Some people not happy with what's going on. We're just trying to explain exactly what's happening. So yeah, go ahead, ask us a question at the link there. And that is it for our latest episode of the Stadium Showdown. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to have much more coverage as everything starts to heat up. A quick note here, this is still technically summer break, so it's a little bit slow as far as anything official. We are expecting that to pick up over the next couple of weeks, so of course stay tuned here at the Stadium Showdown. We'll have every single update as it starts to become available. For now, I'm Jeff Slauson with 19 News. Have a great day. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see everybody next week.